What's going on, YouTube? So the Santa Fe has long been a very important part of Hyundai's lineup.
And 2026 brings a very important change to the Santa Fe. The dual clutch transmission is completely gone.
And not only that, but there's also some other tweaks as well. So is the Santa Fe better than ever? Let's go ahead and find out. So like always, let's kick off this review with a quick spec dump. So we already reviewed the hybrid model separately. Today we've got the traditional 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine making 277 horsepower. Now the big update for 2026 is that the dual clutch automatic transmission is gone and replaced with a conventional 8-speed automatic for 2026. As far as your fuel economy, with all-wheel drive, you're looking at 23 mpg combined.
Now the base price this year is around $34,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now of course, later on we'll be taking it out for a spin to show you the performance of that new transmission, as well as get things like our sound level reading, and at the end we'll discuss resale and reliability.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior and the interior and point out any other 2026 updates. Now starting the exterior out with our front end design, of course we continue with that signature super boxy Santa Fe look that they did with this new generation. One small tweak I want to mention for 2026 is that the XRT, that's kind of the off-road focused version, which is only available with the gas powertrain, that has a new gloss black grille for 2026. Now, as far as the rest of the design, of course, like I said, very boxy. You've got that light bar that's going to go all the way across the front, and that will connect our two H-shaped LED headlight units. So these are your high beams and your low beams right through there. You also have the daytime running light and turn signal indicator, but there are no fog lights on this model. As we take a look at the back design, it continues with that super boxy look.
Absolutely. It basically goes straight down here in the rear, and let's break down some of the individual design touches. We have a built-in spoiler, our wipers underneath of there. We have Santa Fe branding. All of it's going to be blacked out. And let's take a look at our taillights. These are, of course, very bold taillights, a little bit controversial in its overall design. Of course, they have that H shape to them, and they are fully LED for your brake light and turn signal. However, your reverse light is going to be incandescent down there in the bumper. Speaking of this bumper area, you can tow 2,000 pounds with the hybrid, or if you have a gas model like this, it's 3,500 pounds.
Moving to the wheels, you have choices between 18 and 21-inch alloys. This, of course, is the fully loaded Calligraphy, so we have the largest wheel option, a multi-spoke black 21-inch alloy, which I think looks quite nice. You also have a little bit of a gloss black finish around our wheel arches, and as far as our mirrors are concerned, you have standard blind spot monitoring and heating. Limited and up will get power folding abilities, but if you want auto dimming, you will need to choose the Palisade.
Now at the side of the Santa Fe, of course, we have that very boxy design, and as far as overall vehicle length, it's 190 inches in length, which is about 9 inches shorter than that new Palisade model. And as far as design touches, you will see that we have raised roof rails. We also have this that acts as a little hand grip, so you can access things on the roof quite a bit easier. And let's talk about safety systems as well. So when it comes to that, the Santa Fe includes all of your active safety features as standard equipment. The only caveat to that is you have to go for at least an XRT to get highway drive assist, and if you get the Calligraphy, you get highway drive assist 2.0. But guys, there are a few things to discuss on the inside that's new for 2026. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move on to the inside. First, here's our key fob. It's Hyundai's newest key fob. As you can see, typical design. You have standard smart entry, and you also have available digital key on SEL and above. This has the smart parking system on the Calligraphy. Getting inside, you can see the mirrors will fold out as you approach, and you can just grab behind the handle there to unlock the door. Now, Taking a look at the interior, of course this is still a pretty new product, so no major changes to the design of the cabin, but I want to start off by talking about the seats, which actually does see a little bit of an adjustment this year. So you have several different material selections that begin with a cloth seat on your very base trim. You also have an H-Tex leatherette in the middle trims, a real leather on the Limited, and then the Calligraphy, which is what we have today, gives you the fine Napa leather. So this is one of the highest grades of leather in the auto industry. It's very soft and supple. I like the stitching details on board. Now what's a change this year is the fact that we have new color options on the Calligraphy trim level. They're dropping the forest green and beige option now and replacing it with the pecan brown. Obviously today though we just have the standard black option. As far as the seat controls, you'll have at least 8-way power adjustment on all models. Since we have the top trim though, we have some additional adjustments, including this button right here, which actually activates the relaxation seat and the full recliner. No massaging on the American Santa Fe, and you also have memory seats up there. Let's go ahead and climb inside. And now that we're inside, let's look around at the cabin materials. So, of course, this is the top of the line. We've got a lot of nice materials throughout, including a leatherette across our armrest, nicely padded. The black Calligraphy will have a faux aluminum trim through there, and then we have a leatherette across the top part. That will also continue across the top part of the dashboard and through here. More of that faux dark aluminum will run through the center section. If you choose a different color option, this would be a faux wood instead. And then it's going to be nicely padded along the center console as well. Build quality continues to be really, really nice. Excellent fit and finish. Now let's fire it up with the push button start. Now jumping into the individual details of the interior, we'll start with the gauge cluster. As you can see, we've got the full digital 12.3-inch gauge cluster. And with that, we have some additional tricks such as the blind spot camera system on our upper end examples. Of course, the Calligraphy also gives you a head-up display. So you move back to the steering wheel, you'll see the kind of chunky Hyundai design they've been rolling out on some recent models. This will be a manual tilt and telescoping steering wheel. You also have steering wheel heating and then rain sensing wipers back behind there. Now, let's take a look at interior storage. So this is one of the things that we've always been very impressed with in the Santa Fe. That continues for 2026. So we can open up the console there. You can see we've got some donuts inside. As a matter of fact, I can open it from the back as well to give Mason a better view inside. And this is not just a few donuts. It has 24 donuts. That's right, 24. That is the maximum number of donuts that you can get in a car Confections review. So very impressed by that. And then of course you got your 2 cup holders right there. You also notice we have dual wireless phone charging pads, which is a nice feature, and for 2026 that has been expanded to the XRT trim level and above. We're not done yet. We have this giant center pass-through area. We have a passenger storage shelf. We even have a secondary glove box for the passenger to utilize as well. So just tons of places to stick things. One small thing that may or may not matter to you depending on how much of a germaphobe you are, the UV sterilization has been eliminated for 2026 inside of that box. All right, now taking a look at the shifter. It's up here on the column, electronic style, just twist up to drive, twist down for reverse. When you're in reverse, there's our backup camera. As you can see, we have a 360-degree camera. This is included on the Limited trim and above. And then you also get the 3D spin ability. Press the N there for park. And then as we move into the center section here, we can dive into some of these things. So we've got a dual zone automatic climate control system. It has a physical knob to adjust the temperature, which is your primary function. And then there's a small touchscreen here for the additional functions, such as manual control of the fan speed. Also inside of here, you'll find your 3-stage heated seats. That's included in all but the base model. And then we also have ventilated seats on the Limited trim and above. Then right above that, you have a full gauntlet of physical buttons for the audio system. Today we've got the Bose sound system that's also included on the Limited trim and above. We'll give it a sample. overall sound quality from this 12 speaker setup is perfectly good. Definitely fills up the cabin nicely and has plenty of bass. All right, now as far as the main infotainment system, this is also a 12.3 inch display, and this has Hyundai's newest CCNC technology. Not really sure why that started calling Blue Link randomly, but inside of this system, we have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is something you can see demonstrated right there. And then this is what the main infotainment system looks like. You'll have navigation on the XRT trim level and above built in. Up top here, we have the highest end digital camera rear view mirror, standard on just the Calligraphy. And then we have the HomeLink remotes built in. Nice suede headliner all across the top here, which is a very premium touch for this segment of vehicle. I can go ahead and slide back these two different sunshades for the two different sunroofs. You get the dual panel setup if you get the limited or above, or you just get the standard size on the XRT.
Now we've got to talk about the rear seats of the Santa Fe. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about back here because we have a ton of space and also a ton of features. We'll first start by talking about the space first and foremost. You'll be very pleasantly surprised because we have 42.3 inches of legroom and 40.6 inches of headroom. That very boxy shape gives you a ton of headroom here in the back, and it's also one of the class leaders when it comes to rear legroom. Now, as far as the official Car Confections ruler, I brought it along with me so I can get a realistic knee room figure for you. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", and look at that, we're sitting at about 10 inches of space. That is absolutely fantastic. Also, my feet can slide easily up underneath of these seats. Speaking of the seats, you may notice that we have 6-passenger seating on this model. That's because we have the captain's chairs. New for 2026, you can get the captain's chairs on the limited trim level, or you can still option on a bench if you'd rather have 7-passenger seating. Now, when you opt for these captain's chairs, you get a really nice setup, nice armrest here, but that's not all. You will notice that we have a fully power adjusting second row, so that does mean that you can power adjust the back and get a really good recline to take some pretty epic naps back here. And you can also kind of tilt the seat bottom up. Just be aware the sliding is still going to be manual, and it can actually slide all the way to the front of the seat. Now let's talk about other features. We have 2 USB ports here on this side. We have access to the center console here in the rear with this tray right here. And then look over at the door trim. The door trim is going to be nicely done. We have rear window sunshades at the top. We have nice materials through the center section and a ton of door storage throughout the entire door itself. And you also notice one really nice feature, and that's heated back seats. That's included on the limited and Calligraphy grades. Just be aware that seat ventilation is not available, and your vents are located right here. Now, one of the really unique things about the Santa Fe is the fact that it does have a standard third row. Typically, vehicles in this segment don't have a third row, but let's go ahead and check it out. So in order to get back here, you just press that button right there. That's going to electronically slide it out of the way and then power do your seat back to allow for easy entry. Just be aware the seat back does actually move a little bit. And let's hop back here into the third row of the Santa Fe. Now, when it comes to the third row, of course, this is not going to be as good as that all-new Palisade. This is a segment below that model. So we have about 29 inches of legroom, but still about 37 inches of headroom. So honestly, these are quite good figures, and this is very much a usable third row in terms of space. I don't have any additional knee room with the seat slid all the way back, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seat, but the thigh support is going to be a little bit lackluster. The Palisades is nicer, actually, but overall, it's not too bad. We have 2 seats back here. And let's talk about some features. We have 2 cup holders right through here. We do actually have vents here in the third row, and we have our own adjustments for the fan speed. And new for 2026, all but the very base model will have USB ports, and then you even have a household style outlet. You have a pretty big window back here. So overall, when it comes to how this third row rates, I'm going to say this is fit for the in-laws. Now, walking up to the tailgate, we have a standard hands-free Power 1 across every Santa Fe trim level. And once it opens up, we have some pretty good cargo figures for this segment. We're sitting at about 14 cubic feet of space behind the third row of seats. And then if I fold them down, which I can easily do with this little lever right here, That will give me 40 cubic feet of space, and then with all the seats folded, about 80 cubic feet of space. Those, like I said, are very good figures for this segment. And speaking of this segment and some of the rivals you may be cross-shopping with, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at all of the mid-size two-row SUVs on the market and ranked them in individual categories that matter most to this type of buyer. Things like cargo space, interior technology, powertrain choices, value. All of that is detailed for you on our website so you can see the best options in each of those categories depending on what's most important to you. If you want to make an informed buying decision, we definitely recommend checking that out. Now, back here in the Santa Fe, I do want to point out you have a couple more features. So you can actually fully fold the second row of seats because it is, of course, a power seat. And then they go completely flat, and that will allow me to get our cargo length, width, and height figures. So as far as our cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, 80 inches is what we're looking at. From behind the second row of seats with them slid all the way back, about 41 inches of length. And from behind the third row, about 14 inches. The opening in this car is absolutely insane. 50 inches wide. Hyundai said that's the widest in the segment. And height is also very good at 32 inches tall. Let's do our load-in height as well. About 31 inches is what we're sitting at. Underneath of the floor, there's a little bit of extra space over here on the left side, and the gasoline variants do have a spare tire. Just be aware that the hybrid models do not have a spare tire, so if that's a really important thing to you, you should get this gas model. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe. Of course, in this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, as well as talking about that new transmission's performance. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right. That was a quick acceleration up to 60 miles an hour with this Santa Fe. So, of course, like we were talking about, there are some powertrain tweaks for 2026, which is certainly big news. And that's the new transmission. So we've got a new 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a conventional automatic transmission. Now, for those of you who maybe weren't familiar with this vehicle since it launched, in the 2024 and 2025 model years, Hyundai was using a dual-clutch automatic transmission. So what that basically is, in essence, is kind of an automated manual transmission. And this is a type of transmission that is primarily used in performance vehicles, but Hyundai was using it in the Santa Fe for what they said was a fuel economy benefit primarily. Now, in terms of that transmission, well, there were some issues with it. We experienced that firsthand with the 2024 that we had long term, and there ended up being a recall on it as well. And some people complained about some kind of quirky behavior from that transmission. I'm happy to report all of that is gone with this transition to a new conventional automatic transmission. I don't know about you, Mason, but it seemed like it's very apparent as soon as you drive this just a little bit that this is a lot smoother than that dual clutch. Dual clutches have a little bit of odd behavior, especially when you're setting in traffic. They can kind of jerk just a little bit. It wasn't a bad dual clutch in terms of that, but still at the end of the day, no dual clutch can be as smooth as a traditional automatic. It just can't happen.
Yeah, I have to say, I think this is a big improvement, that's for sure. Reliability aside, I think this is a better match for this vehicle. And of course, like Drew said, the dual clutch did have some reliability issues. You can explore that on our channel if you're curious to learning about our ownership experience, but I definitely think this is a good step in the right direction for the Santa Fe to add just the regular 8-speed automatic, and overall performance you saw with that acceleration is super smooth. So I think this is definitely a big upgrade, which is why we specifically wanted to come out here and cover this new 2026 gasoline model specifically, so you could see how this new transmission performs.
Yeah, definitely. This is a very comfort-oriented family crossover, so I think it just makes more sense to have this conventional automatic because you don't need the lightning fast shifts from a dual clutch in this situation. Now that being said, that does not mean this is not a quick vehicle, because this has the 2.5 turbo 4-cylinder like we mentioned at the spec dump, and it has plenty of power, 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. So when you put your foot down, especially with the torque figure, it pushes you back in the seat and gets this up to speed quite quickly.
Absolutely. This is certainly a very powerful standard engine option for the Santa Fe. There's also the hybrid model that will continue to be offered. So that's a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder electric motors. Overall horsepower is 231 horsepower, 271 pound-feet of torque. We've reviewed that actually in this model year, so if you'd like to check that out specifically, you can find that on our channel as well. Overall, that's a very good setup. It gets you more efficiency, but I will say if power is your number one concern, this gasoline option actually is quite a bit faster and feels faster behind the wheel. But now it's time for us to get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and get that. We have it on fan speed 1 and the rear climate is powered off. 58.4 decibels is what we were sitting at. I gave it a little bit longer than normal there. And we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to its rivals. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And compared to its competition, that is, not going to be the quietest option in the segment. However, we have tested out several Santa Fe's before on a little bit less windy days than this that did test a little bit quieter, so that's something to keep in mind. Overall, this is a pretty quiet cabin, but just not the quietest. Now, I also want to take a second to discuss ride quality. Now, for 2026, nothing changes when it comes to that department because the ride quality on this vehicle is absolutely fantastic. Hyundai has really just nailed it when it comes to this aspect of the model. Even despite the 21-inch wheels on the outside that this Calligraphy model has, it still has really fantastic ride. When you hit a bump, it does a great job of soaking it up. These seats are incredibly comfortable as well. Really, this is just one of the most comfortable vehicles in the entire segment that money can buy, that's for sure. We actually just hopped out of a Palisade to come review this Santa Fe, and I think they have very similar ride quality, which is certainly a compliment to this vehicle.
Yeah, and it also has very comfortable seats no matter which trim you choose.
Yeah, super smooth shifts under light acceleration. I do also want to point out that if you choose the hybrid, you do have a different transmission. That's a 6-speed automatic. Now, regardless of if you choose the hybrid or the gasoline variant, you will have front-wheel drive as standard, optional all-wheel drive, except for the XRT trim level. And let's talk about fuel economy. I'm sure you're curious about that. I know I'm curious about it. Does switching to the 8-speed regular automatic make the fuel economy worse? Well, the answer is actually no. It's actually rated at exactly the same combined fuel economy as the 2025 model with the DCT. So that is coming in at 2029.24 for front-wheel drive, 2028.23 MPG with all-wheel drive. So honestly, the fuel economy it's pretty okay, and switching to the new transmission does not negatively impact that, so I'm definitely happy to see that. The hybrid models are rated at either 34 or 36 miles per gallon combined. Now let's get into our slam dunk and airball, our favorite and least favorite element. Drew, kick us off with the slam dunk for the Santa Fe.
Yeah, so the slam dunk's got to be the new transmission, right? I think this was a big thing that was standing out to a lot of people. We had been recommending that you definitely get the hybrid model, partially because of that dual clutch and having a better experience from the hybrid. Now, aside from the fuel economy, if you want the extra power, this should be maybe the better choice, obviously, because you get extra power and you're still going to get a smooth experience.
Yep. Now, on the flip side, our airball is just going to be the rear design of this vehicle. We read your all's comments, and the rear is definitely a controversial element when it comes to the design, those low-mounted taillights. A lot of people don't like it. However, we have been hearing that Hyundai will extensively refresh this product here shortly, so maybe you won't have to wait too much longer to get a different design on the outside if it's not your favorite. And let's talk pricing for 2026. So we started around $34,800 this year for the gasoline variants. The hybrids do cost just a little bit more, so keep that in mind. We ended the Calligraphy, which is around $48,000 as a starting point. You can see that right here. We have the 2026 Santa Fe Calligraphy add-in all-wheel drive, $49,150. We also have quite a few options on this model. 1600 destination, we're sitting at $52,295. This vehicle is assembled in the U.S. in Montgomery, Alabama. And if you're looking to buy a Hyundai Santa Fe or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealership negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, we have a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Hyundai Santa Fe's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 55.35% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 19.6%. It's worth noting that is above industry average, however, it is less than some of the rivals you may be looking at, such as Honda, Toyota, Subaru, or Mazda.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several reliability studies and combines them in a way that gives you the most holistic picture. In this regard, Hyundai is rated just a bit below the overall industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, that's also something important to consider. You have a 5-year, 60,000-mile basic warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. However, do keep in mind Hyundai has eliminated complimentary maintenance for 2026. And guys, that's all for our 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.